Have you ever planted mint, thinking it would be a charming addition to your garden, only to watch in horror as it takes over every inch of soil? It's a classic gardening mistake, one that almost every beginner makes at least once. But today, we're putting an end to that chaos. I'm going to show you our 11-year-old food forest, a living example that proves you can have a thriving, productive garden without letting it spiral out of control. You'll see how careful planning and a few smart choices can make all the difference. In every garden, some plants flourish beautifully, while others seem determined to run wild and take over. It's all about knowing which is which. That innocent little mint patch you planted for fresh tea? It had bigger plans. It wanted to claim the whole garden for itself, crowding out everything in its path. Every gardener eventually learns this lesson the hard way. Some plants just aren't suited for raised beds, no matter how tempting it is to try. Today, I'll reveal 12 plants you should never grow in raised beds, like mint, corn, apple trees, and several others that might surprise you. These are the plants that can turn your tidy garden into a tangled mess if you're not careful. We'll take a walk through my garden together, exploring what works, what fails, and the simple strategies you can use to avoid chaos and disappointment. Think of it like trying to squeeze a giant farmhouse table into a tiny breakfast nook. It just doesn't fit, no matter how much you want it to. After we cover the don'ts, I'll share the highlights of our food forest's best harvests, plus the most valuable lessons we've learned along the way, so you can enjoy abundant harvests without the headaches. And don't miss the end of the video, where you can grab a free safe garden plant list. It's perfect for gardeners in the USA, Canada, and the UK, and will help you make the right choices for your own space. If you're ready to garden smarter, not harder, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tips. Let's dig in and get started. Let's kick things off with a classic gardening blunder, mint. It's a mistake so many of us make, especially when we're just starting out and eager to fill our raised beds with fresh, fragrant herbs. Mint seems harmless enough at first glance, with its bright green leaves and refreshing scent, but don't be fooled by its innocent appearance. Sitting quietly in its pot, mint looks like the perfect addition to your garden. But the moment you plant it directly in your raised bed, you're opening the door to a relentless invader. Mint spreads underground using rhizomes, long, sneaky roots that travel far and wide beneath the soil. Before you know it, mint will be popping up feet away from where you originally planted it, showing up in places you never expected. I learned this lesson the hard way. My once thriving oregano and thyme were quickly smothered by mint's aggressive growth. Even after pulling out what I thought was every last root, tiny fragments left behind would sprout new plants, making it nearly impossible to get rid of. Raised beds with their loose, rich soil are a paradise for mint's roots. The plant takes full advantage, spreading even faster and further than it would in tougher ground. It can quickly fill every inch of space, crowding out anything else you try to grow. If you love mint, and who doesn't enjoy a fresh sprig in their tea or salad, the best way to grow it is in a container. Keep it separate from your garden beds to prevent it from taking over. You can even sink the pot into the ground if you want the look of mint in your garden, but always make sure the roots are contained. This way, you get all the benefits of fresh mint without the headache of constant weeding. The first lesson for any gardener is to respect mint's wild side. Don't underestimate how quickly it can take over your raised bed and outcompete your other herbs and vegetables. Give your mint a pot with a view, on a patio, windowsill, or garden shelf, and you'll both be much happier. You'll have easy access to fresh leaves, and your other plants will thank you. If you let mint loose in your garden bed, you might find it's the only guest left at the party, having crowded out everything else. It's a tough lesson, but one worth learning early. So do yourself and your garden a favor. Contain your mint and you'll save your sanity, your herbs, and your raised beds for seasons to come. Next up, corn. It's a classic summer crop, and the idea of plucking sweet golden ears right from your own backyard is tempting for any gardener. The dream? Fresh homegrown corn from your raised bed, just steps from your kitchen. It sounds perfect, right? But here's the reality. Corn relies on wind pollination, which means it needs to be planted in a dense block, not a single row. Each tassel must shed pollen onto the silks of many neighboring plants for full, plump ears. Raised beds, especially the smaller ones most of us use, rarely have enough space to fit the dozens of corn plants needed for reliable pollination. Plant too few, and you'll end up with patchy, disappointing ears, missing kernels and uneven growth, no matter how much you care for them. On top of that, Corn is a heavy feeder. It quickly drains nutrients and water from your bed, leaving the soil depleted and your other crops struggling to keep up. Corn's tall stalks also cast shade and outcompete their neighbors, leaving other vegetables stunted, weak, and less productive. Instead, save your raised bed for crops that truly thrive in small spaces, like lettuce, carrots, or bush beans, so you get the most out of every square foot. If you have a large in-ground plot, that's the place to plant a big block of corn. There, you can give it the space and numbers it needs to succeed. In raised beds, focus on plants that reward you with abundant harvests for the space you have. Think leafy greens, root crops, or compact fruiting plants. When it comes to corn in raised beds, it's just not worth the trouble or the space. Choose crops that make your garden truly shine. Planting an apple tree in a raised bed sounds dreamy, but it's a mistake. Even dwarf trees need deep, wide roots. Raised beds are too shallow and confining. The tree gets stressed, more prone to disease, and won't fruit well. Above ground, it'll shade out everything else, hogging sun, water, and nutrients. Soon, your bed is just a barren patch under one tree. Apple trees belong in the ground where they can grow strong and healthy. Let your raised beds be for annuals and herbs. Right plant, right place. Apple trees need real earth. Don't sacrifice your whole bed for one tree. Asparagus is delicious and perennial, but it's a long-term commitment. Once planted, it stays for 20 years, locking up your raised bed space. Asparagus roots need to spread deep and wide, which raised beds can't provide long-term. Crowded roots mean smaller, fewer spears over time. Raised beds lose their flexibility if you dedicate them to asparagus. For a happy patch, plant asparagus in its own permanent spot in the ground. Save your raised beds for annuals you can rotate. Asparagus needs room to thrive. Don't trap it in a box. Give it a forever home, not a temporary one. Blackberries are delicious, but in a raised bed, they're a thorny nightmare. They spread by rooting canes and underground suckers popping up everywhere. Soon, your bed is a tangled, painful thicket, impossible to weed or harvest. Their thorns make maintenance miserable and they crowd out other plants. If you want blackberries, plant them along a fence or in their own row, far from your main beds. Give them space to sprawl and a trellis to climb. Keep your raised beds for better-behaved crops. Enjoy the berries, just not in your veggie patch. Let blackberries have their wild corner. Save your beds for peace, not prickles. Squash starts small, but soon it sprawls everywhere. Vines can reach 20 feet. The huge leaves shade out smaller plants, turning your bed into a jungle. It's hard to water, weed, or harvest anything else. Raised beds become chaotic, dominated by one plant. But you can still grow squash. Just choose bush or compact varieties. Or train vining types up a sturdy trellis to save space. Don't let them roam free with other crops. Direct their growth upward, not outward. Keep your garden tidy and productive. Squash needs boundaries. Give them. Bamboo looks beautiful, but it's a garden disaster, especially running bamboo. Its underground rhizomes can travel dozens of feet, invading beds and even neighbors' yards. Once it gets into your raised bed, it's nearly impossible to remove. Even clumping bamboo can outgrow its space. If you must have bamboo, choose clumping types and plant in strong containers or with deep root barriers. Never plant running bamboo in your garden. It's a battle you won't win. Bamboo belongs in pots, not in your beds. Avoid years of regret. Skip bamboo in the veggie patch. Japanese knotweed is so invasive, it's controlled by law in places like the UK. Its roots can break through concrete and destroy buildings. In the garden, it will outcompete everything, forming dense, tall thickets. Eradicating it is nearly impossible. Tiny root fragments regrow. Never compost it. Professional help is often needed. Learn to identify it. Zigzag stems, shield-shaped leaves, white flowers. If you spot it, act fast and call an expert. Don't let this outlaw anywhere near your raised beds. Vigilance is your best defense. Raspberries are delicious, but they spread aggressively by underground runners. One year's neat row becomes next year's tangled thicket, crowding out other plants. Overcrowding leads to disease and makes harvesting tough. Black and purple types are a bit better, but still unruly. Give raspberries their own bed, with root barriers and a trellis. Keep them away from your main raised beds. Organized raspberries mean easier harvests and less chaos. Enjoy the fruit, without the mess. Horseradish is tasty, but once planted, it's nearly impossible to remove. Its brittle roots break easily, and every fragment grows a new plant. Soon your bed is full of horseradish, crowding out everything else. It's a guest that never leaves. The solution? Grow horseradish in a deep container, not your raised bed. Harvest by tipping out the pot, not digging up your garden. Enjoy the flavor without the invasion. Contain horseradish, keep your beds free, don't let it take over. Jerusalem artichokes, or sunchokes, are tasty but relentless spreaders. Their tubers multiply underground, and any missed piece regrows. They quickly take over a bed, growing tall and shading out neighbors. Removing them is nearly impossible. Tubers hide everywhere. If you want to grow them, use a container or an isolated patch with solid barriers. Don't let them loose in your main garden. Enjoy the harvest, skip the invasion. Sunchokes need strict boundaries. Morning Glory's flowers are stunning, but it's a relentless self-seeder. Hundreds of seeds scatter, sprouting for years and choking out your veggies. The vines wrap tightly around other plants, blocking sun and nutrients. Removing them is a constant, delicate battle. If you love the look, choose a less aggressive vine or deadhead religiously. For most, it's easier to pick a different climber. Avoid the tangled mess. Skip Morning Glory in your raised beds. Beauty shouldn't come at the cost of your harvest. There you have it, 12 plants to avoid in raised beds for a peaceful, productive garden. It's all about putting the right plant in the right place. Gardening should be joy, not a constant battle. A little planning saves you endless frustration. Download your free Safe Garden plant list below. Like and subscribe for next week's Spinach Masterclass. Thanks for joining me. Happy gardening. See you next time at the farm.